everyone. Welcome back to Think Outside the Board and another edition of the Crowdfunding Roundup. I'm your host, Brian Toohey, and I'm going to give you my picks, the best crowdfunding games out there this week for the period of July 12th through July the 18th. And as always, I have links to the campaigns that I'm talking about in the description section of the video. So if you go down into that section, you can click on the link, go right to the campaign that you're interested in. And as always, my bookmarks are tabbed. So you can go down onto the play bar, scroll over it, and pick whatever information you are interested in. If you don't have time to watch the whole video, click on that and go right to that information, right into that section. This is the only video series that I'm currently putting out, but it's not going to be that way for too long. So if crowdfunding and Kickstarters aren't really your thing, you still might want to subscribe, because later in this year, I'll be launching, or I should say relaunching, my teach and review videos with new equipment, better lighting. I'm also going to be launching live streaming. So I'll be live streaming everything from medium light strategy games to heavy Euros, big meaty campaign games and legacy games, dungeon crawlers, story-based narrative exploration games, as well as solo games. So all of that is in the pipeline. And if you are enjoying this content, please consider liking and subscribing. It's the best way to support this channel at this time. Now, June was a huge crowdfunding month. Things that launched in June. And my wallet is certainly taking a hit. I don't know if yours is. A lot of that are these big story games, these big dungeon crawls that I want to be able to play on the channel and live stream and share the experience with everyone. So there's been a lot of things that I've been backing this last month. Now, as we go into the things that have launched in July, there's been a lot less. I think it started with the 4th of July holiday in the United States. It was a dead period, and things haven't really seemed to pick back up since then yet. So this week certainly falls into line with that. I only have 3 campaigns to talk about, so this will be a shorter video. And then next week, there's nothing launched yet that I want to cover next week. I'm assuming there will be things that will launch on Tuesday that I'll want to talk about next week. There is one game on the radar that I know about, which is the latest edition of Vampire the Masquerade. I believe it's called Milan Uprising. So I think that's slated to launch on Tuesday, and assuming it does, I'll probably be covering that next week in the next video. But I don't know what else. It's a big question mark. So tune in next week and we'll find that out together. But right now, let's take a look at the 3 campaigns that launched this past week. And the first of these is called Mordred. Now, this is the big CMON campaign, the big new CMON campaign. This launched on July the 12th. As we can see here, they had a funding goal of $100,000. They're currently at $360,000, so they're doing quite well. And this is funded. This is going to happen. There's only 4 days left on this. So if this is something that you are interested in, don't sleep on it. Okay, so let's take a look over here, because there's not a lot known about this game yet. There's not a lot of gameplay videos. There's not a lot talking about it. But we can see that the designers here are Andrea Charvezio and Alexio Schneeberger. Andrea did Hyperborea and Kingsburg and Signore, and then he was recruited into Marvel United. So he was one of the main designers, or the main designer on Marvel United, which is, if you know CMON, you know Marvel United. It was a huge campaign for them over the last several years. And then Alexio Schneeberger has worked on Looney Tunes Mayhem, Teen Titans Go Mayhem, and also Cyberpunk 2077 Gangs of Night City. Now, Adrian Smith is kind of like the big in-house artist for CMON. He's been working on all of their stuff since like 2016 or so. So he's one of the artists and the main artist on most of their games. And CMON, if you don't know CMON, they're probably best known right now for Ankh, Gods of Egypt, Blood Rage, Cthulhu Death May Die, Rising Sun, and all of the Zombicide games. Also all of the Arcadia games and Starcadia games. So that's all CMON. And as we can see down here, Mordred, this is about, the Knights of the Round Table, King Arthur. But as we can see down here in the description, it is the merging of Britain and the Fey Realm. So this isn't going to be strictly historical. It's going to take King Arthur, and it's going to also add in fantasy themes, fantasy realms. Okay. Now, the main mechanism here in this game it's the only mechanism that they're listing currently, area majority influence. So likely this is another, big kind of dudes on a map game from CMON. And this one will be, more in the area majority influence realm, probably than the kind of storytelling, combat, dungeon crawler-esque type game. Here's what the components look like. Here's what the board looks like. There's only one pledge for this. It's called the Fae Pledge. It's $110. Now there is a big range of shipping. It's $33 to $44 in the continental US. I always just assume the highest shipping level, which would put you at $44, which means this pledge in the continental US would be $154. There's not that much to look at. There are some add-ons to go over, and we'll do that. But before we do that, let's take a look at the video together, and then we'll look at the things that you could add on to that one and only pledge. There you go. So that was the video for Mordred. Showed a lot of art in the beginning, and they did get into some, I guess if not the actual mechanics, you got to look at kind of the board and how it really is going to be this area majority, dudes on a map game, all these different factions, both human and fae. So one thing I didn't mention yet is that this campaign, I did say it's ending in 4 days, but it's ending on July 26th. So that's when the campaign will end, and it's already successful, so this is going to happen, and it will be delivering in August 2024. So you have about a year for this one. And we've already mentioned that the pledge here is $154 in the continental US with shipping. This is just all of the, kind of factions and stuff that's in the game here, the stretch goals. So right here, you can see where this bar is over on the right-hand side. This is about halfway down the page. There's supposed to be a gameplay video here from the Dice Tower, and that does exist. They shot that about a week ago. So if when you watch my video, if you're curious about Mordred and the video that we watched isn't giving you enough of the gameplay, and if they have not yet posted the Dice Tower video up here, in the 4 days that they have left, whenever that is when you watch this, you can Google Dice Tower Mordred. There's like a 2-hour, so I'm not going to show it here obviously, a 2-hour gameplay video that you can watch to give you a better idea of the mechanics of the game and how it plays and whether it's right for you or not. All right, now if we go down a little bit more, we are going to see the, stretch goals, but then the optional buys. Things that you can add on to that $154 pledge. So we've got Old Enemies for $60, and this is sort of a big expansion for the game. This is more gameplay, you've got more stuff, just a lot more stuff in the game. Components, player kind of stuff. If you go down to Forces of Nature, this is a $50 expansion. This is 3 new factions, so this gives you more factions that you can play as. Warbands here, $30. This gives you more hero figures, hero cards, stuff like that. And then there's an art book for $25. So if you wanted to get everything that is sort of gameplay related, meaning not the art book, you'd be looking at $30 here, $50, that's $80, plus $60 here, so that's $140 on top of your $154 for a total of $294. And again, this project's going to deliver in August of 2024. All right, so that was Mordred. For our second campaign, we're going over to Gamefound for On the Underground, Paris and New York. Now, this campaign already existed on Kickstarter. It was successful. It's delivering, I believe, in December of this year. So I think with this campaign now on Gamefound, they're just going back to the well, although it's a different well. It's Kickstarter. I mean, it's Gamefound versus Kickstarter, so the audiences can be slightly different. You have more of a gamer audience on Gamefound since it's only board games, whereas Kickstarter is everything. So you get more people on board on Kickstarter, usually, generally, but it can also get lost amidst everything that's non-board gaming related. Now, the funding goal for this one was $1,000, a little bit over. They're at $23,000, which means they have a multiplier here of over 20 times. So this is the most successful campaign in terms of a multiplier. And that's probably partly because they already ran a successful campaign. This is just trying to get more backers on board, and so they can set a very low funding goal. Now, there are 9 days left on the campaign, which means that it's going to end on July the 31st. And just like Mordred, this campaign launched on July the 12th. Now, On the Underground has existed before. There was a first game in the series called On the Underground. That's what we want. There was a first game in the series called London Berlin, and if you go over to Board Game Geek, you can see it here. There is a rating for this game of 7.2, which is pretty solid, and a weight of 2.36, which puts it in the medium light range. I'd say once you cross 2.55, you get into the medium heavy range. So this is a train game. It's set on London train system, subway system. It's for 2 to 5 players, plays in about 45 to 60 minutes, and as we can see, the original version of the game, 7.2. Now, it is a train game. The new version can be played standalone, so you don't need the old version. It's not a case where you're backing for new maps. You're backing for a whole new game, and you can play it by itself. It is a train game. It has network and route building, point-to-point movement, action points. No pick up and deliver, however. And you know what we should do? Let's go and look at the new, let's see. The new entry for the new version of the game, Paris, New York. So it says down here, New York is a fast-paced map reflecting the hectic pace of life in the Big Apple. It encourages players to mirror real life by creating lines through Manhattan, but you have to build quickly to keep up with the always moving passenger. Paris is a thoughtful map offering many options. To win, you need to strike the right balance between collecting sets of tokens, connecting secret destinations, blocking other players while not being blocked yourself, and of course carrying the passenger. Paris is the refined elder sister of the original On the Underground London map and is recommended for experienced players. So different maps have different ways of tweaking mechanics, adding on mechanics, set collection, and other things. And that is kind of what these two new maps in this standalone game are focusing on. Now, we're going to take a look at the video here, and then we'll come back and we'll take a look at 3 pledges. Before we do that, I should mention the designer. So the designer is consistent throughout all of these games. It is Sebastian Bleasdale, and he has worked with Richard Breeze on Keyflower and Keyflow. And I'm a huge fan of Richard Breeze's Key games. It's also co-designed by Victor Seat, and he's worked on Twilight Struggle and the Manhattan Project. Finally, the game is being published by Luda Creations. They are a Finnish publisher. They haven't published too many things, and because they're a Finnish publisher, though, they've done a lot of Finnish adaptations of other companies' games. So if you were to click on them in Board Game Geek, you would get a huge list of games, a lot of which they didn't create. The best way to see what they've done is probably to go to Kickstarter. I'm on Gamefound, which this is their first Gamefound campaign, so it won't show other campaigns. But if you go search for them on Kickstarter, you'll see the other games they've produced. And probably the best known or most notable of those games are Mr. Cabbagehead's Garden and their other On the Underground campaigns. So let's take a look at this video, and then we will check out the pledges. Okay, so we go down here, we can see the pledges that we've got available to us. So there's the basic game here, the new game, Paris, New York. Again, this is standalone. You don't need the other game to play it. And it says here, the basic version that includes these simple wooden tokens. All right, so that's $51. The shipping in the continental US is $10 for this version, so $61 total with shipping. But if you want the deluxe version, you're going to get these extra things here. You're going to get custom screen printed components and the solo mini expansion. That's $63. Again, $10 shipping on this one, so about $73 all said and done. And this, let's see. Yeah, it's not actually adding on other things. It's just giving you the deluxe version that has those extra things in it, these items. So your custom shaped wooden passenger tokens, screen printed custom shaped destination tokens, limited edition transparent passenger token, that's this one, deluxe slipcase for the game, and the solo expansion. Now, if you know you like On the Underground and you want the other version of the game as well, you can get them as a bundle, and this is the deluxe version of both games. So they'll both come with solo expansions and some other upgraded components. Everything that we just saw down here in the deluxe version for Paris, New York, plus similar deluxe components for the other version of the game. This is $113. Shipping on this version is $16, so you're looking at about $129 once you throw in shipping in the continental US. So those are your 3 pledges. That's what you have available to you. Then you have some add-ons down here. So let's say you have the previous version of the game, London, Berlin, but you have the retail version, right? You could get the solo mode. You could add that on for $10. There are also these promo packs here, and they were available different places before, I think. Let's see. This one's a brand new one. This one was created for the Dice Tower 2020, their 2020 Kickstarter campaign, and this one as well. And so you could get all 3 of these promos, the 2 Dice Tower ones and this new one, as a bundle down here for $13.50, whereas if you got them separately, they're about $5 to $6 each. You could also get the retail copy of On the Underground, London, Berlin, if you want to add that on, for $51. Same price for the retail version of Paris, New York. You can add on deluxe copies of both, and you can add on, just the solo mode for $10 each for either game. So those are all the add-ons that are available to you. But I think they've done a pretty good job of including things in these packages. So, if you want the deluxe version of the game, just pledge for that. And the delivery date for this is November 2023. The reason why that's so close is they've already run a campaign previously on Kickstarter. They've already produced this game. So now they're just looking to sell extra copies. All right, that is Gamefound, and we go back to Kickstarter for our 3rd and final campaign of the video. And look, there's no video for me to show you for this one. It's not included here, so I don't have a gameplay video to show you. Now, this one had a funding goal of $100,000. They're at $940,000, so this is the biggest campaign of the week just in terms of sheer money, sheer bucks. The campaign's going to end on July 27th, and this one launched on July the 13th. Now, these are 2 new standalone sets. So there have been many iterations of Shadow of Brimstone in the past, and if we're curious about that, we can go look for it on Board Game Geek. We can see that the first 2 games came out in 2014, and they were City of the Ancients. This one has an 8.0 rating on Board Game Geek, which is pretty good. A 3.35 complexity, which is in the heavy range. The other one has an 8.0 and a 3.4, so it's even more complex, and this is called Swamps of Death. And these are both Old West-themed cooperative dungeon crawlers. And this company, Flying Frog Productions, designer Jason C. Hill, they're also responsible for other games like Fortune and Glory, Last Night on Earth, and A Touch of Evil. So a lot of these games hit about 10 years ago, right when the hobby was reaching its latest, I feel like really most successful decade or so. They're Ameritrash games, though, so there's a lot of dice rolling involved. There's a lot of swinginess in the game. Things cannot go according to plan. It's more about the theme and the experience. And I'd say if there's any publisher, any series of games that really epitomizes that label of Ameritrash, it's Flying Frog Productions. The way that their games are kind of just steeped in theme, but just mechanically very luck-based, very swingy, and kind of just a grab bag of stuff. Now, the 2 new expansions, which they don't completely name in this, they don't have it in the full title up here, but you can see down below, the 2 new games are called Lost Tombs of Kamuntet and The Impossible Hell Train. So if you're looking for those games on Board Game Geek, you can look for them under those titles. And we've got 3 different pledges to look at in this campaign. Unfortunately, there's no video for me to show you. You're just going to have to go search at videos from other previous Shadows of Brimstone games and maybe other Flying Frog games as well. But that should give you an idea if this kind of game, this style of game is for you. So they've got this $25 art print pledge. We're not going to really bother with that. But they do have the Scarab level. This is for $120. This will get you just the Lost Tombs of Kamuntet, along with this Kickstarter exclusive Treasure Hunter hero class with the Treasure Hunter miniature. You can do the same pledge over here for the other game, for The Impossible Hell Train. This is the Railroad level, $120. But with this one, you're getting the Ranger hero class with the Brimstone Ranger miniature. So you're getting 2 different Kickstarter exclusive packs, one for each of these games. So here's a quick look at what is in that Kamuntet box. The miniature you're going to be getting inside that adventure. Your rule book, your adventure book, the map tiles, and then we've got the Impossible Hell Train, and here's a look what's in that set. The various miniatures, the rule book, the adventure book, the map tiles, etc., etc. Now, for either of these 2 levels, their shipping, it's a range, but the top part of that range is $45. So in the continental US, if you're pledging for either the Scarab level or the Railroad level, when you throw in shipping, it's going to be about $165. If you want to pledge for the bundle, that includes both of those games and the extras that come with each game, $290 pledge. In the continental US, $50 estimated shipping. So you're only paying an extra $5 over doing, the shipping on one game. So you're getting a pretty good deal on the shipping there if you're doing both, which brings your total pledge level in the continental US to $340. And as we can see, this is going to deliver in July 2025. So 2 years off from this being delivered. And just in terms of the various publishers, I didn't really mention these in this video while I was talking about it. CMON, I have complete faith in. They have huge bloated campaigns. They will charge you hundreds to thousands of dollars once you go all in. And their shipping is astronomical, but they're also very dependable. So if you place a pledge with CMON, I have 99%, as much as I could have without absolute certainty, that there will not be any problems. I also think Ludicreations is a very solid publisher. They're the ones who did On the Underground, and they haven't done as many games, but from everything I've seen, they're fairly responsible, and I think there shouldn't be too much risk in backing On the Underground. As far as I'm concerned, this publisher, Flying Frog Productions, their games are a little... they don't look as good. The production level is not as good. They're a little not as well put together production-wise, but they've also been in business for like 10 to 15 years. They've made a lot of games, and as far as backing and delivering, the game that you backed, I think you're pretty safe with Flying Frog as well. Now, as we go down here, because the only pledges left over here are retailer pledges and a deluxe retailer pledge, but if we want to see the add-ons, we're going to keep going down a little bit further, go past the stretch goals here, and get to the things that you could add on to your pledge. All right, so for $30, you can add on this Egyptian Desert and Snowy Mountains Railroad Board Pack. So you're going to get a new folding railroad board, 2 new missions, and a bunch of game cards that interact with this. You can also get, for $45, the Terrors of the Deep Enemy Theme Pack. And this is going to include the Queen of the Dead, some other miniatures, some new missions, and some cards. For $30, you can get the Pulp Adventure Ally set with 3 guides, a large pack camel, a damsel, a sidekick, and some more cards and rules. This one's more for Lost Tombs of Kamuntet. And if we keep going down here, we get to Riders of the Storm Enemy Theme Pack. This is $55 as an add-on. This set includes Belle Scafford on foot, some safecrackers, just some miniatures, and then more missions, Scafford missions, and more game cards. So if you're adding on all of these things, it's $85, $90, $130, $160, and let's say you were going to add that to your bundle, which was, we said with shipping, $340, so an additional $160 would bring your total pledge to an even $500 in the continental US. And again, not to be delivered for 2 years in July of 2025. So that was our final campaign of the week. Thank you very much for joining me to take a look at my picks, these 3 games. I'll be back next week with another video. Not quite sure what we're going to be looking at, but I'm pretty sure that Vampire the Masquerade Milan Uprising will be among whatever games that I am looking at. In the meantime, have a great weekend and a great week. Play lots of great games. I'm going to try to finish off Unlock Secret Adventures. I have a friend coming over on Sunday to play some Brook City. Kristen and I are itching to get back to our Jurassic Park, The Legacy of Isla Nublar campaign. And I have a bunch of Euros that I'd really like to get to the table as soon as possible, including Darwin's Journey, Hegemony Lead Your Class to Victory, and the Lagrange Deluxe Master set that just came in. So I have a lot of games that I want to get to. Also some solo stuff I'd like to start playing. I'm looking at doing some plays of the Hexplore series and also Legacy of You, and going back and kind of finishing up some stuff in Falling Skies. So I hope you have some time to get in some good games this week as well, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.